Hello, everyone, and welcome to the seventh episode of Think Outside Yourself. I'm your host, Brendan Chalucci, and with me is my longtime friend, country singer, baseball star, Matt Gorman. Welcome, Matt. How you doing today?
Baseball star, that's a first. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm happy you're here. So, a little background on Matt. Matt and I went to high school together. He played baseball at Lipscomb University, and now he's a country singer. He's got over 10,000 monthly listeners. Had to look that one up. I'm not going to lie. I had to get a stat for you. And Matt has also made an American Idol appearance, which was super awesome. So let's dive right into that because we haven't talked since you went on American Idol. I know I reached out and said congrats, but I want to know more about it. So take me through the steps of getting to American Idol and how it worked.
Man, so I never thought that I would do it. I don't know, it just never kind of crossed my mind. I never would have reached out and tried to do it kind of myself. But on Instagram, we all post videos of us singing and the stuff that we write. And a lady named Ariel Panzer, she was one of the casting directors, I believe, for American Idol. She reached out and she asked me if I'd be interested in auditioning. And at first I was like, absolutely not. I just don't want to do it. But I said, just give me some time and, maybe you could convince me or something like that. So she called me a few days after and, she just spoke about the show and kind of she convinced me a little bit. And she asked me, who I work with in Nashville and, who are kind of my core people. And I told her, and, I mentioned Kaylin, and she knew Kay from the past, or she just heard of her, or she saw her on my Instagram, and she asked if Kay would be interested in auditioning with me, to which I knew that was going to be a big fat no, because Kay's done it since she was 10 years old, and she's never got past she's never got to be on the TV portion of the show. She's always kind of did the auditions and waited in line. Yeah. But I somehow convinced Kay to do it with me. And, the first audition was on Zoom, for I think it was 2 people. And then, right after that, we sang our Fast Forever song. And then we sang a couple other songs kind of to just show what we got. And, she said, hold on, we're going to send you through to the next round. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. This is great. We're moving forward. Mm-hmm. And then we did the executive producer audition. There's 3 of them, and this is the one that Kay never really got past. So we did our audition, the same thing we did, same day. We were waiting on the computer. It took forever. It took so long, but we did it, and they say we're going to get back to you. And then as soon as we closed the laptop and kind of just went about our day, Kay looked at me and she was just like, "Yep, that's it. That's the end of our run. They're not going to call back. This is BS." She was like, "This was a waste of my time." And as soon as she finished her sentence, the phone rang, and I was no exaggeration, the phone literally rang. And they said, "Hey, we need you to stand by. We're going to do one more kind of audition with you." And we're like, "Well, shit, that's great." Yeah. So and we did one more audition, and at the end of our audition, they looked at us and they were like, "Well, you guys are going to be singing on TV for the judges." Awesome. And, it was neat. It was very cool. Yeah. That was kind of the beginning process of it. And then we were very lucky. We got to do our audition in Nashville. So right off of, right in Midtown, the hotel that, kind of where we all hang out at and stuff. And we got to do that. And it was exciting, man. It was really a unique experience, something that I've never kind of experienced before, but a lot of hurry up and wait. We had to be there, a few days in a row where we were filming kind of, we were taking down the Broadway, and me and Kay were walking down on Broadway, and that's kind of where they, talked about our story.
I meant to ask you about that. Did you know, going into it after the Zoom auditions, that they were going to do a story feature on you guys?
Not as extensive as they did. We kind of just, they spent what felt like a lot of time with us, which was pretty cool. But we did a lot of that. We were there on our audition day. We got there at 5 a.m, for COVID testing and all that stuff. And then we didn't audition. We were the very last 2 people to audition that day. So we got there at 5 a.m. It was a bunch of interviews, we're going to film you here. We're going to take you here. Meanwhile, that whole day we never got to actually sing or practice or kind of warm up. So that was, interesting. But we got there. We walked, did the interview and stuff like that. Walked upstairs into the film room where everybody's all set up, and it was so wild to kind of see all the behind the scenes stuff. But all day, my buddy John was with us. He's, he plays drums for me. He's from Louisiana. He's a songwriter. And Kaylin's mom. And, all day we were kind of just preparing for it. We were excited. And I just kept looking at her. I was like, we got this. We got it. We played a lot of shows. We've done it a million times. This is going to be a piece of cake, And, we did our interview at Ryan Seacrest. And I was feeling good. I was ready for it. But as soon as we, walked through that door into what felt like a different dimension, there was 40 cameras, a bunch of people, and then just 3, seemingly unhuman human beings. They just didn't look real. And as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh, shit, here we go. My heart kind of slipped. Yeah, I was nervous, dude. I was so nervous. And I'm not a nervous person usually. I like being on stage. I love to sing. It's my favorite place in the world. But I was just like, oh, this is different, But it was cool, man. We did it. And obviously they kicked me off on that episode. But Kay got through, and that was cool for me, cool for us, especially because she's been trying to do it for so long. Yeah. And I feel, I'm not the reason why she got the ticket, but, to be able to be a part of that and see her go forward was really cool. And then, obviously she went pretty far in the show, and I got to fly out to California and watch her and surprise her and do all that kind of stuff. And awesome. That was really neat. But, from the whole experience, I guess, the whole experience was neat, but I think my favorite part about the entire show, what we got out of it, was really friendships. We made some really good friends, and Dan Marshall.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, connections, friendships that'll last truly a lifetime.
That's awesome.
Dan Marshall, he played football at Virginia Tech. Me and Dan have become great friends when we were at that hotel out in Agora Hills. It was funny because Dan's a goofy. He kind of just fits in with the friend group. He's just a goofy dude. But I was kind of sitting off in the corner on my phone, whatever. And all these younger kids are in the hotel lobby singing and all really full of energy. Yeah. And I was beat from flying and everything. And he came up to me and he was like, "You look like somebody I would get along with." And I was like, "I bet you I probably can." We became friends almost instantaneously. And at the time, he was living in Virginia, and we talked about writing and everything. And I guess we convinced him to move to Nashville, and he's been here for a few months now. And we write. We're writing today, actually, after this. That's
awesome.
And we write a lot.
That's great. So I was actually curious about that. For those who don't know, when Matt mentions Kay, he's talking about this girlfriend who they sing together, they perform together, they songwrite together. It's a beautiful thing, man. So I do want to know, how much more comforting is it in those kind of stressful but also nervous situations when you have someone you love next to you?
Oh man, it's a game changer. This summer, just to give some type of context, this summer we spent, a lot of time together in her little Buick Egg, as I like to call it, all around the Southeast and up to Wisconsin and down and playing shows and going to weddings and a lot of shows this summer with the two of us, almost to the point where people thought that we were a duo. Which we aren't, but we do a lot together, and we just have a chemistry that's hard to really explain, but I'm really thankful for it. And when we're on stage together, we just have fun. We played a show last Tuesday with our buddy Matt Friedman, who's a co-writer on Big City Small Town with Dustin Napoli as well.
Oh yeah.
And we played this show at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. It was a healthcare conference for 3,000 people or 2,500, whatever. And, we're just on stage having a good time. We're just laughing and talking to the people and singing songs that we've written, singing songs that we love to perform together. Yeah. And obviously doing it alone is probably where we're going to, be for the majority of our career, but nothing beats doing it together. It's a special thing that, we're very fortunate, very blessed, very lucky to be able to just sing together, man. We write songs together, and a lot of the songs that we've written together are some of my favorites. And, it's cool. We're very, very fortunate for that.
I remember when you guys came and played down in South Philly. and me and Joey and all the guys came, and I just remember how like I've seen you individually and I've seen her perform individually, but when you guys are together, it just seems like you're enjoying it so much more.
Yeah.
It seems like all like any type of pressure or anything like that. Like, granted, it's a little hole in the wall South Philly bar, but still at the same time, it seems like that like you guys perform like there's no one there, and it's just you're enjoying yourselves.
Yeah,
It's just so awesome.
it's our favorite thing, man. Like I obviously didn't grow up singing and playing shows like she did. You know, when we were playing travel baseball, going to Georgia and Florida, and you know, spending all this time with my dad and my mom and brother and stuff and sister in the car, going to play baseball games and tournaments. She was, you know, driving from North Carolina to Myrtle Beach at 3 a.m. with her dad after playing a gig. Like it's very much the same kind of grind essentially with the way they did things with her music career. She's been doing it forever. But for me that was baseball. So kind of, we just kind of met in the middle, and the way that we met and the way that 3 years have already pretty much gone past. It's just like it's wild.
That's what's so interesting about like learning about like things like that is just like for me, like you were there too. You've obviously branched over into where your profession now, but when you were in the baseball world as well, it just kind of seems like you're surrounded by the baseball world. It doesn't really seem like there's anything on the outside, and then you learn about all these like other like people's lives and like what they go through and stuff like that, and it's just like it's weird because it's just like there's so much more to baseball than baseball out there. It's crazy.
Yes, man. Like I think about that all the time, and it's not in a weird or way, but like I think I was on TikTok the other day just scrolling through, and like you see just a bunch of normal lives, right? And that's one thing that sometimes I personally have like a struggle with is like, I'm 24 years old. A lot of our friends are out there getting married and buying houses and doing this and having kids. Yeah. And, my path's a little bit different than that. Like I'm trying to make ends meet as best as I can, and so is she, but like I just see a lot of, people my age, living a normal life. And sometimes I envy that because like, I would like to put a down payment down for something, and then, be able to kind of live a normal life in some aspect, but like, I don't think I'd ever trade what I do now.
It's like, you got to take the good with the bad. Like, obviously, in positions like this, we're always traveling. We don't know what the next step is always going to be. It's kind of just like a mystery. So you can't like really have that stability or like planning as much as other people do. But that's just part of it, man. That's part of the journey.
Just go with the wind, and it's kind of cool. But I mean, that's what your 20s are for, man. Like your 20s are for figuring out like where you're going to be for the next half of your life, really. Like, it's figuring out who you don't want to date, who you want to date, what kind of jobs you like. Do you like to cut grass, or do you like to be an accountant? Like, in your 20s when you're done college, like these are the years that are tough, but you learn a whole lot about yourself, and I think that's something that I'm trying to really trying to learn something new about myself every single day and use it, to build out my future.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from, man. It's just, it's like I heard this saying once where it was like your 20s are meant for screwing up.
Yeah.
Where like you just try things, go out, do what makes you happy, and go do what you want. Like follow those aspirations, and it's just like you can only learn if you mess up. So why not mess up and then learn from it and figure out what you really want to do with this life?
Absolutely.
And speaking of, that's actually where I wanted to go with this because I remember we were in. In Penn Charter, what was the meeting for worship room called?
The meeting room, right?
It was the meeting room? Yeah. And we're in the meeting room, and you showed me the first song you ever wrote and performed into your phone. And I'm like, is this you, Matt?
Wish We Were. That was a song with Wish We Were.
Yep. So tell me, what inspired you to begin country singing back when we were in high school? And like in the middle of all the baseball and crazy.
Junior year poetry class.
Yeah.
That's it. And it was Doc Hughes was the teacher. And I love that class more than anything at Penn. I got Penn Charter, our time there was great, but that was the class for me that I realized that writing, like, I hate math. Like, I hated math. Hadger, Hitchler, they're great dudes, all respect. I hate math. And I enjoyed writing poetry. I enjoyed reading, the books that we had to read and kind of, learning how to do that. And that was my real first taste of, like, hey, like, I'm not bad at this, because that was the best grade I've ever gotten at Penn Charter. So obviously something's spinning.
Yeah, something's working.
And then I wrote that poem about South Philly, where I'm from, and, I got to present it in front of the class. Like, I was one of the top poems, right? And that was the moment, even though I was nervous to speak in front of people, I've enjoyed the spotlight my entire life. I've enjoyed kind of being somebody that can vocalize, something and potentially impact somebody else. Like, that's something that I really take pride in doing.
It's the best. It's the best feeling.
It is. And that, that class is where I started to realize that I like to write. And I've played the guitar since I was in second grade. And I put it down for a while because I had one really terrible lesson and I thought it was not for me. But, I picked it back up at about 8th grade. And I've always played it, but I never wrote to it or I couldn't figure out how to sing and play at the same time.
Yeah.
That's when I spent a ton of time in my bedroom teaching myself how to do that. But it was that class that opened a door for me to be able to write and have other people feel kind of something that I'm writing down. And that's where it really started. And when I went to junior college in Maryland, Hartford, like, I was just writing in my bedroom. I was kind of just writing really terrible, terrible, terrible songs. But I wrote so many of them. And then I finally got the courage to be like, you know what? There's an open mic night at a bar. It's a restaurant called Naughty Dogs. And it's like a stone's throw.
Hartford?
It was at Hartford, right in Bel Air. And we could basically walk there from campus. It was right next to campus. And, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. What the heck do I have to lose? Who cares? And I went and played like Wagon Wheel and Luke Combs. And, I played 3 songs and I was like, that was fun, even though I sounded like butt and I was getting judged by everybody in there, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So I kept going back. And then I eventually wrote a song called Grow Up Like You that I probably don't remember the words to now, but it was about my dad. And I remember singing that at that open mic night. And all my teammates would come after a while because they thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, my teammates would come, and my roommate, Cam, he filmed me playing that. And, it made my dad emotional, but I remember my coach at Hartford put it on Twitter. And, like, it didn't go viral or anything like that. But, dang, like, that's pretty cool. Like, people actually think that what I'm doing, I'm balancing, chasing a professional baseball dream, which at that point, my shoulder was so jacked up that I kind of had a feeling that I wasn't going to go to the pros. But I still, worked as if I was. And, balancing out baseball, school, and music, it was neat, but my goal at Hartford was I had one school that I wanted to go to, and it was Lipscomb. Yeah. And I was talking I had a really good, sophomore year because my freshman year I was hurt, per usual. My sophomore year I had a really good year, and I was talking to some pretty awesome schools. And I wanted to go to Lipscomb because a friend of mine from South Philly had mentioned that the pitching coach was an absolute G, and he knew what he was talking about. And I was like, interesting, right? So I looked into Lipscomb, and I had some Paul McGloin was a connection that
Paul McGloin. Oh my God, I haven't heard that name in forever.
Paul McGloin's pretty much the guy that got me to Lipscomb, and I'll never not acknowledge that. And he reached out to Brian Ryman, who's the assistant coach, and it was just like, it wasn't going to work out. There was no spots, right? So this is all kind of part of the story. I'm sorry. I'm kind of going
off. Go for it. Go for it.
But, so I went from Hartford, having some offers, a bunch of Division II offers and a few good Division Is, but I wanted to go to Lipscomb. So I got an opportunity to go pitch in the Northwoods League in Bismarck, North Dakota, which is a place that I'll probably never go again unless I'm getting paid to be there. But it was a place. And I was out there for like 4 or 5 weeks or so. I pitched a good bit. Got to see the Midwest. It was awesome. And I got a call. We just drove back from Wisconsin, I believe, and I got a message on Twitter from the recruiting coordinator. He's saying, "Hey, our pitching coach is going to call you soon." And I was like, "Oh my God!" So, we got back to the stadium and I was in the parking lot and James Ogden called me. And, he said that he wants me to come visit campus. And I I almost did drop to my knees because like at that time, that was everything for me. It's like, that's all that I wanted. I worked really hard to try and get that. So like, that was the moment that I was like, oh, I'm so
important, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
So I got my start, moved up. I pitched like 2 days early, and then I was on a plane the next day to Philly, and then we flew to Nashville, my parents and my brother, and it's just the feeling. I wanted to be there because I really love music. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know that I'd be where I am now, but I just kind of had a feeling that this is where I meant to be. And as soon as I met Jeff Forehand, he's the head coach at Lipscomb, and as soon as I met James Ogden and Ryman. I knew, I knew, but it was a matter of convincing them to bring me in. But the craziest thing of all that was they didn't have a spot for me, but the last second, somebody's scholarship, they decided to decommit or whatever. And that opened up one spot, and that spot was mine.
Seems like it was meant to be.
It was. And, so obviously we had our interview. I got to see campus. I got to meet everybody. Yeah. And, I committed that day. And it was kind of an influx of emotions that kind of went through me because it's all I wanted and I got it. And I was like, all right, step one, done. Let's move on. Right. Let's get to the next thing. That first year at Lipscomb, I had a blast. It was amazing experiences between meeting new players, meeting my roommate who I didn't know. We inherited this apartment that brought us so close together. He's from Florida. And the baseball experience, the learning, how I learned so much about my body and pitching and, just school. Like it was just a surreal year. And with all of that, I didn't write or play as much on the music aspect. I wrote a lot of songs by myself in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. Again, more terrible songs, but they, kind of led me to learning. But that year I didn't put a lot into music as much as I would have liked to because I was so focused on being the best pitcher that I could be while trying to not fail out of school because it was way harder than Hartford. Actually, I was in the kinesiology class and I was like, what the heck am I doing in here? And I changed my major to psychology, obviously, because I was not ready to take
any of those science classes, bro.
Dude.
I remember my freshman year spring, right when we're starting baseball season, I have a statistics class. Dude, I thought he was speaking Chinese. I was like, what is going on here right now?
Dude, not for me. Again, I said it before, I hate math, but I was a sports management major. I got a degree in criminal justice at Hartford, an associate's degree. And I kind of wanted to stay on that path, but then I was like, I would like to coach one day maybe. So I took sports management, and it was the worst decision I've ever made. But I changed my degree to psychology because there was significantly less math classes, and I got a great degree. I was thankful for it. I met a lot of cool people. But that first year at Lipscomb, I didn't really take music as serious because I was so focused on baseball.
Yeah.
Cool. But that second year, that summer, it was COVID. That was that 2020. Our season got canceled in March. We just beat Alabama. We were rolling high, the best start in program history, and then boom, season gets canceled. Mm-hmm. Everybody's crying because we don't know what the future holds, whatever. And that summer, although I went home for a few months and I came back to Nashville, I think it was in April or May, because I wanted to be here. And I wrote for a lot of people that summer was kind of a wash. But for me, it was the best networking summer that I've ever had in my life. That summer, I've been in about 3.5 months, I was writing songs with different people every day. Mm-hmm. I was in a songwriting workshop with 2 hit songwriters that introduced me to 2 of my best friends now. And I probably wrote in 3 months. I probably wrote about 80 to 115 songs in that range. Sometimes 2 a day, sometimes 3 a day, because I wanted to learn. I really wanted.
You were just kind of locked in on that. So did essentially, even if it was unintentional, did moving to Lipscomb and being in Nashville kind of jumpstart that, the idea of pursuing the career in country singing?
Sure, absolutely. And I wanted to be here because I felt like that was what I really wanted to do. I wanted to do that. And, you know, it took that summer, like obviously being in Nashville was surreal, you know, going to Broadway, seeing all the bars, seeing Music Row, seeing like all that stuff was, you know, very kind of like motivational in a way, because like this is where everybody has come to chase the same goal. You know, this is the place. I'm in the place. And, you know, that for me was awesome. So that summer, like that was where I learned, man. I learned a lot about myself. I learned who I like to write with, who I don't like to write with, what I am good at, what I suck at, what I need to get better at. And I used it. And, you know, out of those however many songs, let's just say 90, there's probably 10 songs that were worth the crap, you know. But I learned a lot in those the other portion of it. But that's, you know, that was kind of what really started the wheels. And then I met people that believed in me, and I got to work along them. But the further down the road I got, like I started crossing paths with people that, you know, just like training, you know, for baseball. You believe and you trust Rob Urbina, you trust Cressy. You know, it's the same thing when you meet a songwriter or an artist that believes in you as much as you believe and trust in them, that they're going to help you and you're going to help them succeed. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at now, you know, over the 3.5 years that I've been here, from where I started to now, like the people that I'm writing with, the companies that I'm talking to, you know, it's substantial, but there's so many hours in between. But it's also like funny to even say, because, you know, when you're living it, you don't really sometimes see the progress that you've made.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
And yes, until you know, take a step back and you're like, all right, you know, I'm doing the right thing, you know, but it's hard to realize that because you don't see a change in your bank account. You don't really see anything at all. All you see is kind of that your songs are getting better, that your voice is getting stronger, that you have better stage presence, that, you know, more people talk about you in town because you've built a reputation. And those are like silent victories.
No, absolutely. I remember when I first started like the Letters by Lucci videos, I went back and I look at my first one. I never really noticed too many changes, but I go back and I listen to the first one that I ever posted. And I'm like kind of like whispering. I'm like a little more closed off and conservative. Like you can kind of tell I'm a little nervous to do this, a little nervous to post this video of me just kind of speaking to the world. And then I look at the ones that I'll make recently, and it's like how we're talking now. Like we're more, and you don't realize that like progress as you're going through it. But then you look back and you're like, look at how different. Like how much of a difference I've made in such a short amount of time.
100%, and it's just repetition. That's all it is. Repetition. It's just comfortability, and I mean, man, when you pitch your first minor league game to, you know, the season that you just had, I've seen the videos. The confidence is like, you know, from that first game, you were probably a little bit nervous, but now when you smell it, you're like, God, man,
I was nervous as hell that first game. I remember it was in Staten Island. And the funny thing was like I got out of it. Like it was a classic Chooch inning. Like walk a guy, we get a bullshit hit, and then like we get out of it and they put up a 0. That's all that matters. But the funny thing is that we went back there 2 weeks later, and I was throwing the hardest I've ever thrown in my life. I think I was like sitting 96, 97, like really feeling it that day. And this really big Dominican kid comes up, huge, waving the bat like Gary Sheffield, and I'm just like, let's go. And I got him like 1-2, but like the second strike was like a fastball that he fouled straight back, and I'm like, all right, I'm throwing this one 98. I'm throwing it right by him, dude. I threw it right down the middle, and he hit it so far. Oh my! There's this. If you ever see the Staten Island field, basically there's this ginormous scoreboard over the left center field. He hit it way over the scoreboard, bro. Crazy. But hey, you learn from it. That's what you learn for, you know.
You live and you learn.
I wanted to go back. I wanted to ask you this. So tell me about like your kind of process when writing music. I know you like to sometimes write by yourself, sometimes write songs with other people. What's the whole process like when you're going through it?
I think it's different for everybody, that's for sure. But there's a lot of similarities from what I've learned in writing with people that are signed to publishing companies, people that have hits, people that don't. It's usually starts out with an idea. You know, I'll be having a conversation with you, and you might say something that I'm like, "Ooh, that sounds like a song idea," you know, and then I go back. Here's my perfect example is I just wrote a song a couple weeks ago with my buddy Dan from Idol and my buddy Cody, and I was watching this show on Amazon Prime called Reacher. And you ever watch Blue Mountain State?
Yeah, of course, bro.
You know, Thad, you know, the goofy dude.
Yeah.
He's the main character in the show, and he just whoops butt the whole time. He's just he's a bad dude. He's awesome, you know. And he meets this girl, and she's like something about the town they're in, and you know, she's like, "I'm never going to leave, blah blah blah. I've been here forever." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool. The only way they're going to take her out is like in a box, you know, like when she dies." And I was like, "Huh, box sounds stupid, but like maybe we can write a story behind it." And we did. Like, I had the idea, I wrote the verse, and I had the hook, which is basically where the chorus is. And that was how that idea started. You know, sometimes you go into a room with, you know, 2 or 3 other people, and all you have is a melody on a guitar. Mm-hmm. And, you know, somebody might have a title. Or, you know, this one that I had with my buddy Nate Kenyon, who's extremely, extremely talented. I had a melody on the guitar, and I had a title, and it was just a terrible title, very just basic. And it was like Know When You Know, basically the storyline of, you know, when you meet a girl and you're like, oh my God, I love her, I want to marry her. Yeah. And, you know, I pitched that idea to him, and he's a genius. And he looked at me and he said, well, what if we call it like Kiss and Tell? And I was like, what? It's kind of, you know, elementary. And then he explained it, and I was like, you're a genius. You know, sometimes you can just kiss and then
you can tell. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty awesome.
I'm like, dude, that's so cool. So it's different for everybody, but, you know, generally that's kind of how it works. And it's either just a guitar melody or somebody has something that's cool that's been living with them for a while. And, you know, that's the general basis. It's not really overly complex. It's just, you know, it's just being creative.
So what do you do with all like you said, you'll write 90 songs and 10 of them will be good. What happens to those other 80? You just toss them, or
they never get heard?
They just never get heard.
Yep.
I know it may sound like a stupid question, but like, how do you know? Is it based off how you hear it? Like, you play the song and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good, or how do you know if you think that it's crap or not? I guess.
I mean, a lot of it's just trying it on other people. You know, there's these things in Nashville. They're called writers' rounds, and they're hosted at all the big, you know, venues. Besides, like, you know, the bigger ones, but like bars, basically, Live Oak, Tin Roof. You know, and there's 3 or 4 people on the stage at one time, and you're singing the songs that you've wrote in the past, you know, couple weeks or months or years, whatever. You know, and generally, if you have a song that's good, you know, every time I've played that Kiss and Tell song, like, people are like, oh, like that's great. And that's how I mean, I know it's decent. I know it's a solid song, you know, but when you get a reaction from other people, that's my basis of like they actually think it's good. Yeah. And then
it's not like you need the approval of others. It's just like getting it. It's like, all right.
Yeah, it's validation. Like, I don't, you know, nobody needs approval from anybody else. Like, if you're doing something and you believe in it and you think it's good, then keep doing it, right? But when you get a little bit of validation from an outside ear, from somebody that might have a little bit more credibility, it's like, all right, cool. You know, I'm on the right track. But yeah, man, like, my goal for this year was to write 100 songs. I'm only at 60, but out of those 60, you know, from that summer of 2020, I wrote so many, and maybe 10 were worth of crap. Out of the 60 that I wrote this year, I would say probably 30 to 240 of them I think are good. You know, that's just maybe less, honestly, maybe 20 to 35. But for me, that's growth, right? That's a substantial amount of songs that, you know, are better than what I used to write. And it's just repetition, practice, being in the room with people that are equally as talented, most of the time more talented than I am. You know, I offer good lyrics. You know, Kaylin is really, really good at melodies. She can also write the crap out of some lyrics, but like her melody is her strong thing. You know, where like I'm a wordsmith, you know, sometimes my melody stinks, but sometimes my melody's good and my words stink. Just bouncing it off of other people is what is important.
Yeah, it's always important to have like you want to have people that not necessarily are more talented than you, but also have better experience than you and more stuff like that. So it kind of pushes you to want more as well.
Right.
Surrounded by people that like you have more experience, you have more talent than them. You're not getting any better, you know?
Yep. And a prime example is, my buddy Jaron, Jaron Boyer, we call him like our Nashville father. He treats us pretty much like his kids. And, he's written songs, that are timeless. He wrote Summer on a Beach. He wrote Flatliner. He wrote Hell of a Night by Dustin Lynch. He has a bunch of Jason Aldean cuts. Like, he's had a substantial amount of success in his time in Nashville. And he's 42, 43, with a little girl and a wife. And, but he's taken a liking into, he met John at a Bible study. And now we all go to church together. Now we're all spending, a lot of time together, writing songs together at least once a week. And just from being in the room with him, I've learned a lot about myself. Like, there's lines that I'll throw out that he'll just be like, we can beat it. And then I'll beat it and he'll be like, yeah, there we are. But he's the one that's kind of pushed me to find the better lyric. And the same thing with Kay. Like Kay, she's signed to a publishing company, and she's already sitting on a big cut that's coming out. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but like, writing with her and Jaron in the same room, I'm like, I need to bring my best game today because like I want to contribute to this right, and I want to grow, but like I watch them and I learn from them, just like some people learn from me. But I've been very, very fortunate to find myself in some rooms that I've learned a lot, and we've walked away with a really good song. My success thus far in my 3 years, 2.5 of writing, and stuff has been minimal. I have a good amount of independent small cuts. Like, people have released songs that I've been a part of writing, but I haven't come across the life-changing song yet. Or maybe we have, but it hasn't been, cut or put out or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So that's, there's a million people here chasing, stars that are so far away, but they're attainable.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of about, how bad do you really want it? And like, it takes a little bit of talent, but it takes a lot of who and, a lot of just determination and grit, man. It's something that I learned when I was a kid and growing up in South Philly. I credit that to a lot. And, the baseball teams that we've played on, and it's a mentality. It really is.
It seems like also in this day and age, it's really, people are really quick to forget. Like it'll be like, you can go viral real quick for like a song, but then like after it's over just like that. People are on to the next thing and stuff.
Right.
Like have you had a, let's say, I know you do TikToks with Kay. Have you guys had like one where you've kind of like blown up a little bit?
I mean, not like kind of like a couple hundred, like 800,000 or 900,000, almost 1 million. Never hit 1 million, but like it's a touchy subject because it is important and it is changing people's lives right now. Mm-hmm. But I just have I don't like being on my phone. I don't really like.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that.
It's important, and I try to stay relevant. And I had a few videos that did really well, and it got me like 30,000 followers, and my numbers stayed there for months. It hasn't gone up. It's gone up a little bit, but it's never gone down.
Yeah,
like on TikTok, especially, like just staying relevant, posting a couple of videos a week. That's kind of what I do. But I'm not big on the like, this is about my ex-girlfriend who broke my heart, and then like, I can't get behind that. So like,
no, I get that for sure. And that's the thing is like in this day and age, it's like kind of like social media is a little bit kind of taken over. And if you can't really you kind of have to grow with it, but obviously you want to stay true to who you are. That's
the most important thing for me is just like, I just want to be like real. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. Like when I get on TikTok and post a song that I wrote or just doing a cover because I like it, I just get my guitar and I just sing it because like, if I have 30,000 people that follow me, there's a good chance that like, they just want to hear me sing it or they want to hear what I'm writing.
Yeah.
But that's, I try to keep it in that vein more so than like doing something that I can't get and I just don't feel, I don't know, but
for sure.
It's different for everybody. And, I don't judge. I don't care. Whatever people do is not my business. And if it's working for them, then keep doing it. But, I'm really happy where I'm at. Like I'm writing songs every single day with people that I think I need to be with. And, I think that's my path. I feel like I've kind of paved a bit of a foundation that I need to keep following. Obviously, I don't know where it leads, but, I believe that God's got a plan for me. And, I think that, what I'm doing is the right thing. I'm just trying to be a better songwriter. I want to sign a publishing deal. I want to write songs that make people feel, man. I want to write songs that people listen to and they're like, wow, like that's really good. And that's kind of my main focus right now. I'm not so worried about the artistry thing because I think that'll come when the time is right. But
absolutely.
I don't want to throw it down people's, neck and force it. I think it'll come when the time is right. And I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'm playing shows, but I think my path is just a little bit different,
Yeah. No, that's something I've always admired about you is that you always stay true to who you are, and what you do is always has a lot of meaning behind it. Like you're not going out here writing country songs just for people to dance to. You're writing country songs that really mean something to you. And I think that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Are there any country artists that you like admire, that you like look up to, or try and learn from in either way, or in any way? Sorry.
Like, there's so many here. There's so many. It's a lot different than I feel like it was years ago. But there are people that like I look at, and I look at their writing. Like, I mean, Hardy is obviously probably the best songwriter, of the decade. Truthfully, he's going to be maybe, but like I think the way that he writes, the way that he like articulates, and the way that his flow is something that like I really, that inspires me. Truthfully, Jameson Rogers is an artist that I think is doing it right. Like I like his songs. They're not ringy dingy. They're not overly complicated, but they're just really easy to listen to, and his voice is killer. I also, I work at a restaurant. I'm a server. Pretty much how I pay my bills. But like I served Jordan Davis the other night at my restaurant, and he was the most kind human being. Like he was like awesome, and his songs, his writing style, his performance, his artistry is somebody that I look at and I'm like, he's doing it. Like he's somebody that's not talked about like Morgan Wallen is, but he's doing it right. And it's inspirational. It's really just kind of like, it's not in your face, but it's so professional and it's so good. And he can pack out a place and he can have the whole crowd singing his song back to him. And that to me is like, that's just success. That's what you want as an artist. Like that's kind of what I chase to be able to write songs that people feel and go play them and have people enjoy them and want to come watch me play them. Like that's
definitely one of the reasons. Like I'm not too like, well, like no, I don't know too much about country music as a whole, but I do know some of the artists, and Zach Brown Band really just hits home with me. I love them so much just because of like how they're able to balance like having catchy songs that people love, but also there's certain songs that like just really hit home and they hit hard, and you're just like, wow, that's gorgeous.
Yep, it's an art, man, and it's I'm lucky. I'm so lucky to be where I am, how I got here. I mean, the first 2 years my parents helped me through. I didn't have to really struggle my way through because like I had a scholarship to play baseball and I was getting an education, and at that point my parents were paying my rent. So like I kind of had an easy foot in. But I get to be creative every day. I get to, go be in a room with people that I don't know, people that I do know, and pour out my heart for probably 3 hours and a lot about them too. And like, there's just something special about it. It's really, man, it's the best job I ever had. And, it doesn't, if I was in it for the money, I would have quit a long time ago. Jameson Rogers has a song that, that's what it's about, but it's the truth. Like, I'm not here for the money. Like obviously one day it'll be great and I can't wait for that day, but I I love what I do. Like,
Yeah.
I just love being creative. I love singing. I love making people cry. I love making people laugh. I love making them dance. Like, it's it's a gift that I've been given, and I'd be a fool if I didn't use it in the right way.
Absolutely. You never want to live your life and toward the end think, what if I continued this? What if I had given it my all? You know?
Absolutely. And I'll struggle for as long as I have to be able to do what I want to do, because I know that it'll pay off one day. And
yeah. Yeah, that's what Timbo and I talked about that a little bit last week. Was when Timbo had one of his more recent injuries, and it was one of like the last straws he could take. He was just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I was like, Timbo, if anybody could do it, it was you. It was a conversation we had that we talked about on the podcast, and it's just like. That's the thing is like you'll go through struggles no matter what what you're passionate about. There's always going to be bumps in the road and stuff like that. But I mean, the last thing you ever want to do is wake up one day and wonder what would have happened if you kept going.
Absolutely. I feel that, man. Like, I had an extra year of eligibility left, but my last year of baseball in college, I was throwing sidearm because I couldn't barely get the ball over the plate. And then, the story, when I was 14 years old, I was throwing what felt like 200 miles per hour.
I was just about to bring that up.
So that was extremely tough for me, because I went from being on top of the world, freshman in high school, like the guy. Like, it was, again, a gift that I was given, but like it was taken away. And it took me a while to realize why, but it wasn't humiliating. It wasn't demoralizing. It wasn't any of those things, but it was very freaking humbling when I went from being the best on the field at all times, no matter where I was at, when I was that young, to, my last year of college baseball, I was probably the last one out of the bullpen, and that road in between was a steady decline. Even no matter how hard I trained, no matter how good I ate, it didn't matter. I worked my tail off every year that I had a baseball in my hand to be the best that I could be. But it was a steady decline with injuries, with just people were just bigger and stronger and better than I was at the end of my career. And like, that no matter how hard I worked, that was just the way that it was. And, it was hard to swallow. It was hard to accept that, because I've never had to deal with that before. But I realized, that that's the way that it was meant to be. And it opened up a door. It opened up a door for me to do it, what I'm super passionate about. And it's really hard to hurt your shoulder playing a guitar, really hard. So I don't feel like I'm going to have to get any more shoulder surgeries when I'm on stage.
Yeah.
And I just, it's the path, it is what it is.
What were those expectations like? For those who don't know, Matt, when we were younger, Matt was the real deal. Matt was the guy that everybody was like, that guy's going to the big leagues. He was throwing 90 miles an hour at 14 years old. So tell me, what was it like having not only those expectations from others, but also expectations for yourself?
From a baseball standpoint?
Yeah.
At that early age?
Uh-huh.
I loved it. Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved it. I love being I love being the guy or the kid. I loved being the kid that people talked about, that I thought it, again, I like the spotlight, and I never wanted it to ever be, and I hope I never did make it seem like I was full of myself or conceited or cocky or whatever. I just really liked to, I worked my butt off, man. My dad had me on the field every single day, hitting me ground balls, long tossing in the schoolyard. I didn't deserve anything, but I felt like I worked hard enough to, when people talked about me, I knew what they were saying. Mm-hmm. And I embraced it, and I loved every second of it. But what was hard was, my sophomore year of high school, when I did get hurt, that I feel like I let a lot of people down in a sense, because I had these high expectations. And maybe some people thought that I wasn't truly hurt, which I was, and that's how it was. But I just it got harder as it went on, but I never stopped being me. Mm-hmm. I remember my junior year, I was the closer at Penn Charter because I could only last like an inning and a half because I was still recovering. And then my senior year, I wasn't throwing 90, but I was getting guys out and winning games. I wasn't as promising, I guess you can say, as I was when I was young, but I had to teach myself how to really pitch because I couldn't just throw a fastball by people. And I learned a lot about myself when I had to do that. My brother was a pitcher. I was a power guy.
Yeah.
So talking to him and watching him pitch, I learned a lot from him. But I liked the spotlight. I loved it. I embraced it as best as I could, and I tried to be, a leader for those years. And then, college, my sophomore year, I was back on top of the world. I was. I had one of the best ERAs in Division I junior college, and my record spoke for itself in the schools that I was talking to, and it was great. It really was. But again, for some reason, it wasn't meant to be. And whenever I felt like I was getting back to where I wanted to be, it would quickly go back to phase one. And I couldn't understand it. I tried to. I questioned everything. But at the end, I learned that it was for the best freaking reason, and I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change being a pitcher for a hitter because my career would have lasted longer. I wouldn't change a single thing.
God always has a plan. Yep. It's just it's hard to realize it in the moment sometimes.
It is, and again, like we said earlier in the conversation, sometimes it takes a little bit of a step back to observe everything that you've kind of done and realize that, what, all right, let's acknowledge it. Let's not forget it, but then let's keep moving forward. And, that's kind of how I've been living lately. And, sure, I get to say until the day that I die that I was on American Idol. I got kicked off on the first episode that I was on, but I was on the show. So
that's great, man. And hey, it's I wish I learned to pitch like that when you did, because learning to actually pitch in pro ball is pretty tough because I can't, like I said, I can't blow it by everybody up here. So
yeah, but man, I think it's funny because I always remember like our freshman year when we were 14 years old, and I was, where I was at, and you weren't, you were where you were at.
Throwing 75, baby.
Yeah, but now you're throwing 98. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a different. Like my path went from here to here, and you went from here to here. So like, again, like that's just the way life is. Like you worked your tail off to be where you are, and
that's it's not like we were doing things different. It was like you and I we did a lot of it together. We literally for 4 years worked our asses off together in the gym, throwing and doing all that stuff. And it's just everybody has a different path. And look, in all honesty, like back then, like I hurt for you because I knew how hard you worked. I like we were together at it every single day, and seeing you like your shoulder just not like panning out, it hurt me as like one of your best friends. But seeing like where it takes you now, it was honest. It's just like another instance of like we talked about. Like there's always a plan out there, and you just got to go with it. And if you don't mind, would you mind like talking a little bit about like the mental state that you were going through those trying times of where your shoulder was hurting?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was kind of just I got a degree in psychology, so now like a lot of it makes some type of sense. And the few classes that I did pay attention in, but it was just there's so many ups and downs, and like finding like a middle ground was really hard because like I was again on top of the world or I was on the bottom, and going through it, it's a lot of questioning, and I think through those years. I've always been a faithful person, but I was never faithful enough to be like, I believe it. It's okay. Everything's going to be all right. I was just kind of like, why? Like, why did you give me this gift? Why was I so good so early? And then how even I worked so hard, how can I stay healthy? how can I throw 94 instead of 84, at the age of 23? Why? And it was just a lot of that, man. It was a lot of that. And, but I think the realization for me was when I finished my baseball career and I was like, I have a year to go back. I can do it. But I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Like, I can't deal with it anymore. I don't like being the last pitcher called out of the bullpen. And that's not me being selfish as to like, I deserve to be the first one out because I didn't. It's just when you are the first one for so long and then you become the last one, it just kind of weighs you down a little bit. You feel like your shoulders are heavy everywhere you go.
Bro, trust me, I know. I remember my freshman year of college when I got the yips, I was the up 10, down 10 guy. So if we were up 10 runs, I'd get a chance to pitch, or if we were down 10 runs. If we were down 10 runs, I was definitely pitching. And if we were up 10 runs, it was a maybe. And I was like, please, can we score some more runs? Let me get in. But yeah, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling.
It's a lot, but again, I wouldn't change it. And I guess my only advice to anybody that is seeking some type of advice when it comes to stuff like that is to just just take what you're given and make the most of it. And you could be given the world, and you got to make the most of it, and you have to obtain it. You could be given dirt, but plant a seed in it and make a flower. And
right, something about that.
That actually, that kind of just spit that one out. I'm gonna have to go right there. But like, it's you get one life, man. You get one life. You get so many days. Everybody's time is numbered, and you don't get to do it again. So whether you're on top of the world or whether you're on the bottom, make the most of the situation that you're given and be happy with it. And just live your life. Live the life that you want to live, and it's not easy for everybody. It's not easy for anybody, actually. But it's I'd rather be happy than sad. And the time that I have,
It's beautifully said. So, tell me about like the difference in, I guess, performing on the mound as to performing in front of a crowd as a musician. Like, are there any differences? Are there the same emotions that you feel throughout it? I mean, I'm sure it's a little less on the arm and a little more on like your throat from singing the whole time. But
I think the adrenaline is similar, I guess. Depending on the crowd, you could be playing in front of 5 people, or you could be playing in front of 5,000. It varies a little bit, But for me, pitching was always like momentum. I've always wanted to have the upper hand. I've always wanted to be like in the position of dominance. And performing on a stage is like, I'm just entertaining. I'm having the best time I've ever had, and I'm ensuring that everybody in the audience is also having a good time. Whether I'm cracking jokes in between songs or whether I'm singing, something that makes them want to party, like Tim McGraw, I Like It, I Love It. Like every time I sing that, people are two-stepping. The feeling is totally different. The satisfaction or the gratification after you strike somebody out on 3 pitches is not the same as hearing a crowd sing the song back to you. I haven't had that feeling on a large scale, and I dream about it literally every night. I manifest that feeling of being in an arena, Wells Fargo, and seeing everybody's flashlight and them singing my song back to me. I haven't had that feeling yet, but I will. And I can't wait to describe that feeling. But as far as being on a mound and a stage, it's just it's a different level of adrenaline. As a pitcher, I'm dominating. As a performer, I'm just having fun. And I mean, I had fun as a pitcher, but like in the moment, I wasn't having fun. I was like, I'm gonna strike you out whether you like it or not. But singing, it's a blast, man.
I can't attest to it too much. But there was one game this year where it was our very last home game. sold out. Actually, sorry, last Saturday home game. We had a Sunday one, but no one came to that. But our last Saturday home game, everyone's out on the town. The stadium's packed. We got like almost 10,000 people there, and it's 0-0. And I come in the game in the eighth. We get out of throw a scoreless eighth. We don't score in the bottom of the eighth. Go to the top of the ninth, lead off double. We eventually get out of it, and after the last strikeout, I lose it, and the whole crowd goes insane. And it was the first time I had really felt like that, because we've been in front of like important people before, but I've never really been in front of like a crowd of more than 7,000 people like performing. And it was the best feeling ever.
Yep.
On top of the world. It was awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's just the sound. The sound is chilling, you know, when you hear that amount of people roar. Yeah. Like it's something that like I wish everybody could experience at least once in their life, because it's it kind of just sends chills all the way through your bones. Yeah. And you won't.
I was at the Phillies game when Bryce Harper hit the homer. Dude, I played you and I both know we played a lot of baseball.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of baseball games in my life. That's probably top 3, one of the most amazing baseball games I've ever seen.
Was that the game against San Diego?
What?
The game against San Diego?
Yeah, it sent us to the World Series.
Yep.
Holy crap, that was insane.
I was in South Philly when that happened.
Really?
I was at my Little League field because my brother runs this camp for kids with disabilities, and it's like an annual thing, and we were there for that, and we were watching the game in the rain, like underneath the hut type thing, watching my brother Joey's girlfriend's dad's TV. So we were also we were a mile and a half away from Citizens Bank Park, so we heard the roar 30 seconds before because the TV was so big. And it was like 3 pitches, right? So we heard the roar, and it kept going, and we're all looking at each other like, what is going on? What is going on? It's something good. We won. Something happened. And, we watched it on TV, and we start going nuts, and we're thinking people driving by are like, look at these idiots. They're 25 seconds behind the whole thing. Yeah. But I remember that hearing that roar, and I mean, from a mile and a half away, it was piercing, and it was awesome. So that's crazy.
So baseball and performing, as you said, have taken you a lot of places. Where are some of your favorite places that you've been in your life from traveling?
Wow. I love Nashville.
Nashville's one of them.
Yeah, I love Nashville. You know what? This summer we got to go a lot of different places. We played a show in West Virginia for this motocross event, and we put in front of 3,000 people on a stage the size of this kitchen table that I'm sitting on. It's a tiny stage, 2 acoustic guitars, but the craziest crowd. And it's like a village on top of a mountain, and it's insane. It's beautiful. I never thought that I would say West Virginia is probably one of my favorite places that I've been, but the drive there is. The drive stinks because it's all mountain once you get there. So you're driving 30 miles per hour like this the whole time. You get a legit core workout driving through those mountains. But, to date, that's probably one of the coolest places that I've seen. And we were just 2 weekends ago, I played a songwriting festival in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And, been to Alabama a bunch. Muscle Shoals was pretty cool. We got to go see the sound studio where Leonard Skinner did a lot of their albums and stuff like that. So that was neat. But I mean, it's just a lot of a lot of my favorite parts of being on the road are the driving through the places in between, driving through small towns, driving through
the experiences.
It's just, I didn't grow up in a small town. I grew up in a huge city. So it's different, but I mean, just seeing kind of how, again, back to the beginning of our conversation, people that lead these really normal lifestyles live. They live in these towns. They do their job. They have their family. I think it is inspiring. It's neat, but a lot of those excursions or whatever you want to call them, driving through small town USA, like just kind of seeing different parts of the country. Like I really enjoy that. Like, and that sounds crazy because sometimes the drives are long, but just window watching, I think it's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. So, like we talked about a little earlier, you have a song called Big City, Small Town, where you talk about how core the South Philly community is. So going from obviously the big city that we grew up in, Philadelphia, to now living in southern city, but more kind of rural, in Nashville, what are the biggest differences? And have you had to adjust to anything new?
Not really. I'm thankful for Philly because, obviously the people there, I love the people there, and they seem to really, they support me a lot, which means the world. That's why that song was even born. But I'm street smart, dude. I have street smarts, just because of the way that I grew up. And my girlfriend does definitely not have the most street smarts because she's from rural Raleigh. But the change of it wasn't too drastic, truthfully. Yeah. I know how to drive in a city. I know how to navigate big cities. The pace of life might be a little bit slower, but that's nothing compared to if I was somewhere deeper south, or if I was in small town Georgia or something like that. But the transition wasn't that hard for me.
Yeah,
it really wasn't. I mean, I live 20 minutes outside of town now, south, kind of southwest, in a little place called Bellevue. Okay. And we basically live on a mountain, which is pretty awesome. But I lived in Green Hills, which is right dead center of the city, pretty much one of the main busier roads. And it was very much like Philly. The traffic stunk every day. I had to leave early to get to places. And, it just kind of was picking up where I almost left off, but a little bit more suburban than South Philly.
Gotcha.
So the transition wasn't too terrible for me.
So what's the future looking like for you guys? Do you have anything coming out soon or anything like that?
Well, for me personally, I don't have any plans to release any more music for the year right now. The year's almost over, but that could change early next year because we have, again, a lot of songs that we're writing. There's a few that that I hold dear to my heart that if somebody, big doesn't cut them, then I will do so myself because I want to. But the plan for me, is to continue to write the best songs that I can and to pitch them to major artists and to be a hit songwriter. That's my number one goal right now, and that's where I feel like I'll be in the next few months, years, wherever that happens. I feel like I'm close to where I want to be, but I have a lot of work to do. So I think the goal for me is to continue writing the best songs that I can and having a lot of people hear them. And if they don't find a home with somebody else, then I'll give them a home.
That's awesome.
That's where I'm at.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
We haven't seen each other in a while. We've both been having crazy schedules, but getting to catch up with you is always a blast, man. So thank you again. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, I always ask before my guests leave, give me one mantra that you live by.
Die first, then quit.
Love that. Self-explanatory.
It is.
All right, Matty. I love you, bro. Thank you so much.
Love you too, man. Thank you for having me, and let's catch up soon.
Absolutely.